Good evening, everyone. On the behalf of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, I take great pleasure in extending a very warm welcome to all the speakers and the participants of this webinar. We are delighted to welcome you in the virtual CPE meeting being organized by Digital Accounting and Assurance Board of ICAI. The ICAI has been providing continued inputs to its members through seminars, lectures, workshops, technical literatures, e-learnings, etc. We heartily welcome you in this VCM on riding the emerging technology wave by chartered accountants. In today's session, our eminent speakers will talk about two topics, that is technology for chartered accountants and role of technology in forensic investigations to enhance our members' knowledge. Now, I take the opportunity to invite and introduce CA Charanjot Singh Nanda sir, CC member and chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board of ICAI.
Shalini ji, I would interrupt for a second. We have CA Nakul Saraf, the chairman of Jammu branch. He will give the welcome address, then I'll give the keynote address.
Okay.
Mr. Saraf, you are there?
Right, sir, I am here.
Great.
Okay, sir. Now I would like to introduce and invite chairman of Jammu and Kashmir branch of NIRC, CA Nakul Saraf sir, for welcome address. So
thank you, Shalini ji. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I, on behalf of JNK branch of NIRC of ICI, welcome you all. We are honored to host this event where we shall be learning about the emerging technologies through the eminent speaker for today's program, CA Shailesh Churiwala ji and CA Puneet Grewal ji. I would like to mention that Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, that is DAB, of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, under the chairmanship of CA Charanjot Singh Nanda sir, along with CA Dayanivas Sharma ji as the vice chairman, are actively taking initiatives to position the profession for opportunities in digital era. ICI has constituted DAB for fostering a cohesive global strategy on aspects related to digital accounting and assurance through sharing of knowledge and practices among the members. DAB is focusing on issues in accounting and assurance arising from the high pace of digitization, including use of artificial intelligence in audit, big data analytics in audit, relevance of sampling, valuation of data as an asset, impairment testing of digital assets, insurance of data, and many more areas. So without taking much time, I would request Shalini ji to please carry forward the event by inviting our guests.
Yes, sir. Nanda sir.
Should I start?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. CA Nakul Saraf, the very dynamic chairman of Jammu and Kashmir branch. The co-speaker of the day, CA Shailesh Churiwala ji. The moderator, CA Shalini Katare ji. The technical staff, the secretary Amit Gupta ji, Sudhanshu Kumar Singh, and the officials from DAB. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to yet another astounding happening and a very nice session of DAB. Let me tell you, DAB is very clearly Christianized to help you, to serve you. We are there at your beck and call to ensure that you have the best of the technical topics at your doorsteps. Your DAB in the entire world came out with a set of 23 forensic accounting standards. None has done in this world. Your institute is the first institute in this world to come out with guidance on remote audit way back on 30th March 2020 when COVID had barely started. Focusing on today's topic, I would like to present my keynote address. You'll have to wait for a second. Just a second, please. Ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is riding the emerging technology wave. The coverage of the program includes, number one, how technology is becoming the core pillar for any business to grow, to work astoundingly in a very resilient fashion. It needs technology as its pre-partner. Second important topic is opportunities for CAs to partner in business growth. Yes, CAs have to do lot of working. They have to create lot of infrastructure to avail the opportunities in business growth. And third is some technologies to start with. First thing you need to understand is the low-hanging fruits in technology domain. You have to only extend your hand and have it. There is a couplet which says, जिंदगी में हासिल करने के लिए हाथ ही बढ़ाना पड़ता है, बाकी सब तो खुदावंद ने दे रखा है. You have to extend your hand to achieve what you intend to. The first important thing is workflow automation. Yes, it is an approach to making the flow of tasks, documents, and information across work-related activities perform independently in accordance with defined business rules. Everything has to follow the process, and in case there is a loophole in process, that has to be immediately plugged. Second, the process. Process automation. It streamlines the system because it removes human inputs, decreases errors, increases speed of delivery, and more importantly, boosts the quality and minimizes the cost. It incorporates software, tools, people, and processes. The third is data and information visualization, which is an interdisciplinary field that deals with the graphic representation of data and information. You can say the whole assignment on your screen and work in accordance with it. It is particularly efficient way of communicating when the data or information is numerous, as for example, a time series. The data is numerous. You have to draw inferences from data, and in today's time, data is gold. The fourth important facet is process mining. Process mining essentially is a family of techniques related to fields of data science and process management to support the analysis of operational process based on event logs. Yes, you mine out the data and determine the secrets which it contains. The goal of process mining essentially is to turn event data into insights and actions. So you draw inferences from data, use it as a business input. You can refer it to the board or to the audit committee as the case may be. There are a number of initiatives of DAB. I will not take them here. I will just tell 2 or 3 we conduct. FAFD courses, we conduct information system audit course. We undertake so many accelerated courses. We are now very keen to bring technology to the doorstep of normal people, and we are working towards it. Now, what is expected from CS? Number one, digitization. Emerging technologies mandate CS to upscale and hone their technical skills, to acquire skills and be able to conduct audit of digital records. Second is newer risks. Yes, once you enter into the risk arena, you understand risks. You evaluate controls and risk environment. Whatever risks you find, you mitigate it and get ready to welcome more risks and mitigate them. Please understand, if there is no risk, there is no opportunity. Third is technical skills. Yes, you need to learn tools and techniques used during IT audits, which are very inevitable in performing the assignment. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I would just like to summarize by saying that our working has to be totally in sync with the entire thought process, which has to put us at a parlous where you give the best. As professionals, technology will change the entire landscape of working. And therefore, my dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, I request you to take technology by your side, work in tandem with it, and create greater professional avenues for you to prosper. Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to Madam Shalini for further proceedings. Shalini, the dice is all yours.
So much. Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening regarding the importance of technology. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to introduce and invite our next learner speaker, CA Shailesh Churiwala, sir. I would like to say a few things about sir. Shailesh is founder of R2I2 Labs, an innovative solution lab researching problem in artificial intelligence, IoT, and blockchain. He primarily works on designing novel solutions for the finance ecosystem. Prior to starting R2I2, Shailesh worked as Deloitte and Godfrey Phillips. Shailesh sir is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India and commerce graduate from Delhi University. So please take over the session on technology for chartered accountants.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, Institute, CCM members, and all the relevant authorities and all the relevant persons for organizing such a wonderful sessions that we keep on organizing and inviting, especially me to do the honors and talk about something which maybe I can maybe of help to our fraternity. Just check, Shalini ma'am, am I clearly audible? Okay, good. So great. So I have been part of past sessions also where we spoke about technologies and what are the possible avenues for technologies, be it a specific technology like blockchain or be it multiple other technologies like the artificial intelligence or data analytics, robotics, process automation, cloud computing, and all those aspects. So when we said these are some of the basic pillars, how this technology takes place in the entire finance domain or in the entire business domain. So we have discussed at length sometime when we used to give sessions for like pre-COVID times when there were virtual sessions. So there were great discussions that used to happen with the members. But every time after every session, be it a virtual session or be it a live session, the only question that I or any of us as a coordinator or facilitator would get was that, how do we capitalize on these opportunities? How do we make sure that these opportunities or these things that we're talking of, be it technology, XYZ, whatever the technology is, fair? We understand that this is going to be a future. This is going to change things that we do in the manner now. But how is it that we implement it, and how is it that we start using or delivering our services to our client using these technologies? At the end of the day, how do we capitalize on this? It's good that we learn something new, but what after that? Learning is fair, good, but what after that? How do we utilize that learning? How do we implement that learning? So today what I wanted to speak about was not something about like future technologies, this will happen, that will happen. Like there's a great opportunity for CAs and all those aspects. Not talking too much about very futuristic technologies, be it AI or be it AR, VR, blockchain, codes, tokenizations, and etc. But I'll be very, very, very basic and straight to the point that this is the three things that we can do, and this is how we can approach in terms of riding the technology wave. Because I have been in this domain now for a little bit of time, and the difficulty that I still face is that we not being a native of the technology domain or the doers in the technology domain. So it sometimes acts as a blocker for us, and sometimes the blocker is so huge that it even refrains us from taking any one single step also. And this has been more or less the problem with the close network of people that I know in this fraternity, that we are not able to adopt to technologies or adapt to technologies even after knowing that yes, data analytics is going to do this, automated audits is going to do this, visualizations is going to do this, AI is coming, XYZ, data entry will get automated, whatever is the one of the studies in Stanford says that the basic accounting jobs is among the top 10 things that is going to be automated by 2030. So it's at the number 5. So somewhere, some portion of our services or some portion of our time that we invest together into this community is going to get automated by using technology. And that is a very good aspect that I see. If that gets automated, I have that X number of time to invest somewhere else. So I'll specifically focus on what are the next steps that we can do. And I'll honestly invite a lot of questions into it, because I've kept my session really small, because I don't want to get it very lengthy in terms of just taking a ride and we don't end up anywhere. So I'll keep it very small, and I'll prefer lots of questions out of this. So first of all, whenever we talk about technologies or how this is, or how the fraternity like chartered accountants who are core deep into finance will ride the technology wave. So first of all, we need to understand what exactly is the future of finance being envisaged, how future of finance looks like. So one of the very simple examples that I like to narrate in from a story is that assume a day after 2030 or maybe 2025, and I don't know what the date is, it can be too far, it can be too close, but assume a day where a person like CFO gets into a self-driven car, right? Attends call using the variables. Maybe it can be a glass, it can be a watch, it can be anything. Attends calls using the variables. On the road to the house to office, she or he discusses the entire monthly reporting system, for an example, or the MIS of a company, using couple of things that she is surrounded by. It can be a handheld device, or it can be a wearable device, or it can be a audio device which is there. Podcasts is one of the example how we consume data, how we have changed in terms of consuming data. First we used to read books, then we used to read in digital form. Now the audio is a very good consumption form of a data. So how do we know? We start reviewing informations using that audio features or audio way. And on road to the office, she is reviewed it. By the time she reaches office, she knows what to do. She or he enters his or her cabin. A visualization of the entire group finance MIS is in front of her. She interacts with that group finance MIS screen that she has using a NLP or an NLG, natural language processing technology. She interacts with that without the help of any buttons, just by interacting her, drill down this, drill down that, show me for that unit, simulate it, whether if inflation, the considered inflation is 7%, what will be the result if the inflation is considered it to be 8%. So the entire information is simulated. She runs all those calculations that she has in her mind within next 5, 7, 10 minutes, which generally takes a day long today. I tell to the MIS team, इसका ये percentage 8% करने से what will be the impact on the entire sheets? Let me know about all those entire sheets. So this is how it functions. But in those scenarios, 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. And this is how I visualize the finance function to be in next maybe couple of years, 5 years or 7 years down the line. And when I say, although it might seem like a very science fiction movie or something like that, people talking to machines and all that, Iron Man kind of thing, but no, this is not difficult. And I have not talked of one single technology that don't exist today in between us. The only difference is that it may not be as simple to use it as I've explained to you. It is still usable, but it's a little bit more complicated and expensive, and this is the reason it's not adapted. But technology always gets cheaper in years to come, smaller, cheaper, great capacity that we have all seen with how storage devices, how processors and everything have moved on. So this is very sure that this will move on also. And when I say simulating without the using of Excel sheets, today those solutions exist in form of MIS simulation tools, where you can just move the regulator kind of thing, move a ball. This is the rate 5, 6, 7. Just do this and your simulation changes. So this is how things are there, which is already penetrated into the function. We may or may not be aware of what the level of penetration is, and we may not have been encountered with these kind of tools. But ये सारी चीजें exist करती हैं, and people who are smart people, they are really using it to their benefit. And the benefit, obviously, technology gives a scale, and technology does not give a linear benefit. The benefit is always in the form of a hockey stick, and it's an exponential graph. So people are actually realizing it. So this is just how I envision future of finance. And obviously, needless to say, in the future of finance, we won't be dealing with one single currency. Right. And when I say we won't be dealing with one single currency, is not just when I say USD, Euro, GBP and all that. I specifically and intentionally try to bring in the other forms of money, or I won't say money, but other forms of exchange mediums or asset mediums that are arising slowly and steadily in form of tokens or something else. People are very keen about holding them as assets in their books. So very soon, like MCA, I think in last year they came out, like in form of a notes to accounts in the financial statement. Every company is required to disclose how much cryptocurrencies are they holding. So this is on the basis of some assumptions or some data that companies have really bought cryptos or tokens in India, and they have them as their asset in the financial statements. So this is going to happen, and this is where we again come in. So assume a client 5 years down the line, or maybe 3 years down the line, or it can be today also. If you have a personal individual who is dealing with, who has done a crypto trading, and that is not at all impossible now. The number of crypto traders in India have really gone high, and the volumes are really large, huge. If you have somebody in your clientele who is an individual who has dealt with crypto, you will have to take that understanding and you will have to adjust that whatever the transaction is in terms of the adequate laws that we have, maybe in form of taxation, maybe in form of disclosure, or whatever it is. So if we don't understand these kind of domains, he'll say, this is ये मेरे पास NFT है, this is मेरे पास X token, this is Y token. I have applied that token to a staking, and there is a yield farming and the mining going of that tokens. So how will you adjust that if you are not aware of all these terms, like how mining is possible into this, whether mining is a legitimate thing in India or not? How do I earn interest and yields from this kind of tokens? How do I value the NFTs? Where do I check the valuation of the NFT at the end of the year, like 31st of March? What is the value of this? And in fact, whether this is something which can be classified as an asset or not. So these are some of the aspects that broadly I want to touch upon, that these are things that industry is shaping around, and we really need to buck up with what the things we are with our learnings and with our understandings into it. So this is how the future of finance I envisage, at least for 3 to 5 years down the line. And today I think we'll try to take initial, I won't say initial, somebody might have been doing really, really good in terms of everything. They might be way, way far ahead. But what I believe is that most of us still needs to start acting onto it very, really seriously. And so I'll little bit keep my talks on a basic front, that how do we take our initial steps into this riding of technology wave by seas. So there's this slide, and intentionally I kept all the boxes in this slide blank just to again reiterate my fact that I won't be talking of any hi-fi technologies that is about to come, and I won't just say that this technology can do this or that. So this is not at all the agenda, and this is the reason. We must ensure, and we must be aware that disruptive technologies are there sitting right next to our doors. They have started banging our doors, and it's time that we listen to them, and it's time we not listen to them, but rather ride and capitalize on them. So what are those technologies? Due course of time, we will come to know. But how do we start today? We'll focus more on that. So I always believe in the fact that starting can be really, really small. And the steps that I have written today is on the basis of my thought. It's not taken from anybody's philosophy or something like that. It's just simple my thought, and so you are completely free to like say that no, this is not at all a correct way to it. I'm completely fair with that. But what I find important is that we need to take these 2 or 3 steps. I've written 3. We can take 2, or we can take 1, or even 3 steps of this. The first one is that first you'll have to find someone with whom at least you can talk about what you want to talk in terms of technology. Because if we don't have somebody to bounce our thoughts off, the thoughts generally die in our human brains. Right? Either we are so much convicted or convinced about it that we ourselves go and do a research of all those things, start reading, keep reading it every now and then, even if you understand or not understand. But generally that is not possible in today's time due to our prior commitments and multiple other factors. So we need maybe a very small group, 2 people, 3 people, or even 1 people who resonates with your thought in terms of technology, whatever it may be. If he's extremely futuristic, no problem. You can also be extremely futuristic. But if he's very, really basic, you can also be really basic. So this is the first step that you need. You need to find somebody in your closed network where you can, anytime you can just talk to him about this. Oh, I found this. Would you like to take a look at this? Would you read about this? कुछ मिला था क्या उसका? Just random thoughts that we do a WhatsApp share and all this. This may sound a very basic or a maybe irrelevant step, but this is a proven step, and this genuinely gives results to us. The push that people keep on doing 1 2 1 2, and we all know now the power of WhatsApp. Any thought that is revolving around it, we form perceptions, we form thoughts on the basis of the informations that we receive on WhatsApp on multiple groups that we are uninvited members of or unintended members of, but we form a perception of particular ideology or whatever it is of particular thing that is going on. So similar to that, capitalizing on that aspect of our psychology, if we have somebody who continuously interacts with you on some similar kind of wavelength, that helps to keep you going on in terms of taking initial steps and keeping you alive in this domain, and not just doing a 5 days exercise, 10 days exercise, एक महीना मैंने मेहनत किया, if we don't see result we get demotivated, ठीक है छोड़ो, let's move on, कुछ और देखेंगे, बाद में देखेंगे. अभी वो उस लेवल पे मेच्योरिटी नहीं आई है टेक्नोलॉजी की that finance will adopt. We say ourselves this, अभी टेक्नोलॉजी वाले करते हैं, अभी यहाँ पे नहीं आएगा, बिजनेस में नहीं आएगा, जब आएगा तब देख लेंगे, and all those hundreds of excuses we give. But this will help you not to give those excuses and keep you up and running in this thing. The second aspect that the second approach or the second step that I think is important is we need to really adapt fast. I first, when I got into this domain, I used to believe that whatever the idea or whatever the solution is, if I don't find clients for it, how do I experiment it? I don't know, like how to use it. But then I realized that I can be my client also. Now I myself can be my own client. So I started automating simple tasks using tools like, so the other day I automated my own task. I use 2 email boxes. One is Gmail and one is Microsoft. So some calendar and meeting invites came into Gmail and some came into Microsoft. So whenever I had to give a time or find a slot, I used to look at both the calendars. So it was getting like irritating, and so what I did, I found how can we do this and can we do anything for this. So I found a beautiful tool called Zapier. I'm not sure how many of you have heard or not, but Zapier is an integration tool. Very easy to use, no code, nothing, just click. You need to match the puzzles. It's like jigsaw puzzle. Do this step. They guide you towards all each step. The design interface of the solution is so good that it takes you through the entire process. It's $1 billion company. So now what happens is that whatever calendar request I receive on my Outlook automatically goes to the Gmail calendar, and within 1 minute, the refresh time is 1 minute. So my Gmail is my master calendar now. It includes the calendar requests or meeting requests that comes directly on that email ID, and that comes to the Outlook emails also, and that is now integrated. So this is how I did, and it took an hour or so to do, but now the benefits are huge, and it gives a self-satisfaction that, oh, this is something which I did myself. So the next time I'll try something else. Next time, now maybe I'll try that if I get an email of this particular kind, that email needs to the text of that email needs to sit in this Excel sheet, so that at the end of the day I just see that one Excel sheet and I don't need to scroll my entire inbox. I need the subject of all those my emails in my one Excel sheet. It can be worthless doing this, but this is something that is doable. Somebody might think that this is okay to do also. So just start adapting these kind of things for your own use. Automate your own office. Be it data entry, be it document overflow, be it document signing, e-signings, and all those aspects. Just start automating your office, your day-to-day task. You'll start realizing benefits out of it, and then you can. Whenever you're talking to the client, even if you just give one single input, which is not very large in terms of, or even not at all worth of commercializing it, but if still he reaps benefits out of it, he'll know that yes, if I need to talk technology about business, this is one whom I can talk to, because he seems to be aware about it. So you'll have to make that perception live in your client's mindset. Whenever anybody thinks of technology, I'm assuming CAs would be one of the last people that would come to their mind. If any company also wants to automate their maybe sales process, maybe collection process, maybe data entry process, but their CA, the company's CA would be the, as per my understanding, they would be the last one that would come to mind that yes, he or she can do, or they can do. The first thing would be the IT department, if not IT department, the existing softwares that exist in the market, or hire your own coders, developers, or hire your own product managers and get something built. But they never imagined that a CA can do that. But believe me, we can do that, because the biggest reason for that is that nobody understands process better than us. We audit processes, we get into the details of each and every processes by looking into each and every document at every step that is done in an entire chain of event or entire process. So not even the company's employee understand the processes better than us, because the employee also have visibility of a particular area of that entire large process. But we, as a reviewer of it, we have an entire visibility of the process, and we can connect the dots very easily. So we are the ones who understand the processes best. And when it comes to automating those processes or bringing efficiency in those processes, we are the ones who are not at all even thought of that they can do that. So there's a large gap into it. So if we just become little better than other people's or little good than the average, I think there is a lot of opportunity in this segment when it comes to operational excellence or when it comes to process efficiency or process excellence. So because the major part of it, the as-is study and the to-be study is clear to us, it's only that leveraging the existing technologies that is there, forget about building new, but leveraging the existing technologies and suggesting something, one small change even in the process the effect can be multiples, because step by step, and if one step is efficiently improved by, say, suppose 5%, that 5% moves on to all other subsequent steps. So this is how I think we should start adapting it, and then we should start replicating it to our sought for clients or unsought for client. Give it for just as a free advice. You may not be capitalizing or commercializing it today, but when there is a project that comes across for process efficiency or something sort of this, we are the ones who may be consulted, and we never know what opportunity lies in. The last part of the strategy would be to join communities where such discussions are held. Now, what do I mean by communities? In finance domain specifically, there are very less communities, or very less good communities, I would say, where technology is being discussed on Zoom. People generally, there are huge databases, and there are lots of effort that has been done in this fraternity where we have good insights about taxation, audits, case laws, and everything. But we still need to buck up in the form of technology. There's no either in today's world. What we see is that there are communities where technology is discussed extremely in detail, and so we don't form part of that community because that is not our place to be. And other than that, I don't find very good communities where we can be part of. So either if you can be part of that community, or create your own community through step 1, maybe 2, 3, start with 2 and maybe end up doing 50. Create your own community, and through that community and your network, build a team who is dedicatedly responsible for the technology implementations. See, this is extremely sure on the basis of the available informations and the conditions that we exist in today. I'm 100% sure that we cannot ride the technology wave as CAs alone, right? Doing alone is not at all a good strategy or a good idea. We need somebody by our side sitting along with us who is expert in this domain, and we working together with them to finally deliver a project or something, whatever it is. So it is very important that we find somebody who is of that domain, and we are ready, and the wavelength matches that we can form part of a team. So forming a team, a dedicated technology team, is very important if you want to move ahead in this step. Otherwise, what will happen is that we'll find good people, we'll talk good people, we will start using it ourselves, But when it will come to a large scale implementation, because large scale implementation or even a mid scale or small scale implementation is entirely different, because a commercial project implementation is a self implementation is very different. Now, the expectations are really different. The after sales support, the customizations, and etc. etc. So this is pretty sure that it cannot be done without a team. And if we don't have a team that can do this, even if we get an opportunity in future, how will we execute that opportunity? And we think that agar opportunity aayega tab main team bana lunga ya bana lungi and then I'll execute it, then to it's a circular loop. If you'll have team, you'll get the opportunity. If you don't have the team, you might not get an opportunity. When somebody is giving opportunity, how will he give an opportunity? He'll evaluate how this will be executed. And if you don't show a team, I doubt that we get any kind of opportunity until and unless it is very, very sure that it's going to come to us. So team and this is very correlated to each other, and like chicken and egg problem. Pehle team banao ya pehle kaam aaye. So I think a better strategy is to पहले टीम बनाना. टीम के साथ काम आने के probability and chances बढ़ जाते हैं. Even if अगर टीम के साथ काम नहीं भी आता है बाद में, we don't get projects for year 2 year 3 year 4 year 5 year. But if there is a team who continuously works with us, the chances of learning and chances of our improvement and at least automating our entire office is very practically possible. So these are 3 steps that I see that we, and these are not something which is, I try to keep it as basic as possible and not something like that, pehle course kar lo, pehle YouTube ke 100 hours ke video dekh lo and all those. Nothing sort of this. Find one people, start using something of in your own vicinity, and then form a larger community. This is as simple as that. Right. So this is what I believe, and this really worked for me. And moving forward in moving forward with like this approach, the next question that comes is that, okay, fine, I made a team, I did all that was talked of. Now what? Where should I start? The technology domain is so huge. What should be the starting point? So as Nanda sir talked in his keynote address, like these are some of the things that I personally feel also that the lowest hanging fruit and the easiest thing that we can do. If I'll be very crude in saying this, कि अगर हम ये भी नहीं कर सकते हैं, then thinking of that one day we will make a future or we'll make a great technology solution or service is really difficult, and I think that we are dreaming wrong, right? Because workflow, process automation, and visualization, these 3 things are something where we do have all the knowledges to execute these 3 activities that I've written here. And these are 3 independent project capable technologies or project capable solutions that can be delivered, and people are delivering it, right? So very simple. We do have all the requisite informations and requisite skill sets and requisite experiences for these 3 things. The only thing that is missing in our entire jigsaw puzzle is the leverage of technology. Assume if there is a client, say suppose he's a FMCG distributor of he's a distributor of multiple FMCG companies. He have 500 SKUs in his godown and all that. He says that मैं कैसे काम करूं, मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा. I have 5 people in my godown, 2 people sitting in my sales team, 2 people sitting in my accounts team, लेकिन इनके बीच में आपस में coordination नहीं होता. कैसे करना चाहिए? There are multiple mismatches and everything. So if somebody says me this problem, what we can do easily is that we can design a process on a paper and a pen, and even on a process workflow management tool, on a workflow management diagram or a dashboard, something like that in the BPMN. Right? We can design the J step. This is the action. This is the process. This is the control. This is the control doer. This is the reviewer. And this is the final output of this entire process. Broken down into of this one step. If say suppose sales order wala, we are like sales order execute हो गया, तो the output is कि sales order की copy होनी चाहिए हमारे पास, और एक बंदा बना रहा है, and the second is reviewing it. As simple as setting up the process. So if somebody tells me this, anybody of us can design the process because we have the visibility of this system. Now, as soon as the requirement tweaks a little bit and says that क्या एग्जीक्यूट होने पे मोबाइल पे मैसेज आ जाएगा या एक नोटिफिकेशन आ जाएगा, क्या ये एंट्री टैली में चली जाएगी, या अगर वो जोहो यूज कर रहा है तो क्या जोहो में उसको पता चल जाएगा, क्या कोई मोबाइल ऐप हो सकता है जहां से वो इस चीज को कंट्रोल कर ले, क्या एक शाम को मुझे एक समराइज्ड एक्सेल शीट मिल जाएगा कि मेरे इस टीम ने 8 पीपल टीम ने क्या किया. सो व्हेनेवर दीज क्वेश्चंस कम्स इन, at least for I'd say for myself, when I started I used to get numb कि अब नहीं पता क्या, राइट, कि मतलब ये कैसे होगा, ये तो this seems to be a magic कि मैं यहाँ कुछ हुआ and the notification and how will I do that? I don't have requisite skills for that. So the only leg that we are missing is this in the entire journey is this. But now why this is not a problem and why I'm speaking specifically for this here is that I'm sure many of you must have heard of disruption or evolution that is going on in form of a low-code, no-code movement. Like there are lots of tools that are coming into this segment, and the only objective of this entire segment that is building in this technology domain is that business users can themselves design their own system as per their requirement. Typically, it follows in today's regime, how is it follows is that a business user has a requirement and a demand for technology. The business user converts that demand into his language. That language is communicated to the IT team. IT team is not in a position to understand that language because business people have defined using business terms and IT is not at all aware of what the business terms are. So there lies a huge communication gap between the business people and the IT team. And at the end of the day, we know what happens. उसने deliver किया, इसने UAT किया, नहीं ये fail है, ये request तो आया नहीं, ये feature आया नहीं. One single thing keeps on swinging around from here to there, and most of the process, or large part of the process, either ends up with huge cost and a success or huge cost and a failure. Right? So now there is an entire movement where low-code, no-code things have started coming in. And there are solutions where business users, as I mentioned about Zapier is one of the low-code, no-code existing solutions worth billions of dollars. And this is not simple valuations in terms of billions of dollars. The revenues say that an EBITDA positive company of those kind, a tech company, that why it should be valued billions of dollars. So the actual utility and the value addition lies there. So if these kind of tools exist, all the heavy lifting of the entire coding, etc., and all that happens in the background and the systems are taken care of. We don't need to take care of. We understand business, we understand the front end, and we are now assume somebody has given us a tool through which we can design our front end and we can design our process and design our mind that you want to this process to run or this step to run. This is like एक दिन सोचा मैंने ये होना चाहिए, ये हो गया, and this is a dream come true. So this is the reason why I've put specifically workflow visualization and process automation here, because these three things are possible to be executed with our existing skill set, existing knowledge. The only thing that we need is the leverage of technology, and the technology for all these three that I've mentioned here exists in a vast population in a low-code and a no-code segment, in a low-code and no-code regime. So everything is now set for us. It's only that we now go and execute things around it. So when I say workflow, I a little bit deep dive into these three things like workflow, visualization, and the process automation. So when I say workflow, what we mean by workflow, right? Workflow is very, like, the very crudest example of workflow that I like is raising a purchase order. Right? It's very simple. Commercial, the required department comes to the commercial. I want to buy this. Commercial talks to stock, to the stores. Is there an item available? He says no. Commercial says okay. Give me the specifications. Takes the specification, floats the quotation, gets comparative, etc., etc. finalizes and raises a purchase order. This is a typically broad situation how a purchase order is raised. Now, if you see this is all step-by-step defined process or defined workflow. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. If step 2 is not happened, step 3 cannot happen. This is a I'd say linear process that needs to be executed in a defined manner only, in an ordered manner. So this is workflow. So assume a organization where very small team, 2-3 people in commercial, 2-3 team, a manufacturing unit of 50-100 crores company, 50 crores company having 10-15 people as a staff working over there. Now the entire communication happens on WhatsApp, phone call, very less email in those segments. WhatsApp and phone call. Messages आजकल कोई use नहीं करता. And these companies obviously don't use good messaging channels like Slack, Notions, and all documentation channels like Slack, Notions for documentation and all that. So WhatsApp and phone call. Now, when WhatsApp and phone calls are very, very, distributed communication tools and not synchronized communication tools, not ordered or step-by communication tools, random communication tools. They're very good for random, but they're not good for businesses in terms of structured business communications. So if you define a process, if say suppose I give you a tool, right? You define a process in a flowchart manner. If this happens, this is to be done. If this happens, this is to be done. If this happens, this is to be done. And you get that final output in a form of no fancy thing, in form of a website only, in form of a web-based solution. You have to open, rather than opening your emails or Excels to create a PO, you open that applications on your Google Chrome, you execute that step, it moves on to the next step. Everything is configured, who is responsible for next step, what is the timeline and all that aspects. Everything gets configured. The formats get configured, the notifications can be configured, the nudges can be configured, and everything can be configured. So what did you do? An unstructured process that was running into an organization, which was sulking up a lot of resources, lot of time, and even after that, there was no visibility to a stakeholder कि कितने POs open होने बचे हैं, कितने POs हो गए हैं जो मेरे पास नहीं आए हैं. This is where assume visualize the situation. जो लोग Excel में POs raise करते हैं, how do they keep track of all these things? This is not easy. इसका tracker बनाने के लिए they need somebody who gets all the information and then tracks it. कौन सा PO किसके पास pending है approval के लिए, कौन सा किस condition के वजह से raise हो गया, नहीं raise हुआ, and all that. Nobody knows where that PO is hanging in this entire organization. So using this very simple mechanism or simple tool, you have structured this entire thing. I'm not saying the efficiency would go 100% up. Even if it's a 5% increase in efficiency, you have successfully done one thing that was not earlier done. So that makes a lot of sense for this. And the example for workflow automation was the email example that I gave you for myself. It was a workflow for me. Whenever I had to fix up a meeting, पहले Google Calendar देखो, फिर ये देखो. There were 2 steps involved in it. I reduced it into 1. I don't know how much time will I save it. Maybe I don't save even a second of it. I'm not so occupied कि I don't have a second कि मैं यहाँ पे भी देखूँ, यहाँ पे भी देखूँ. But it felt good. Why, logically it felt good. Why should I have 2 things? For any reason, I don't know. I have 2 email boxes. The emails are coming there. The invites are coming there. So I did it 1. Fair. Workflow done. Maybe it has a benefit, maybe it does not. But today I'm secured in terms of the chances of error that may arise, that may happen in future is reduced. That is for sure. So this is the benefit of workflow. It can be small, it can be big. And there are simple tools that I've mentioned here, like case flow, process tree, Notions, Notion, Airtable, and all those. So these are some of the simple tools that you can use, and maximum, like Airtable is free to use, Notion is free to use to till certain limit. Like I use Notion for almost now 3 years, and I've never felt the need to get a subscription for that. I'm still being able to realize the value without on using the freemium version, and it works fine. I'm extremely happy. Like I can't visualize my life now without Notion. This is how Notion has deep penetrated into my day-to-day routine. These are some of the tools that we can use. These may be tools which you completely hate. This is upon my experience and upon my usage of these tools. So these are there'll obviously be my biases into these tools, but yes, these are some of the examples. Now, at least if you have an idea that, okay, I'm talking about this, you can find an alternate for this very easily these days. So this is about workflow, more or less, how the workflow ecosystem works and what the value this is. Coming to process automation is an extension of workflow. In the workflow step, I have structured the unstructured way of doing things. In process automation, I have reduced the human intervention in this entire structured process that I have done in the last step. So when I start, now imagine a situation, a client comes to you and says that मेरे को ये process automate कर दो. So the first question you should ask is, workflow है क्या? Automation can be done only of standardized tasks. Right, not talking of extraordinary AI and ML, but automation can be done in general sense of a very standard task. So for a standard task, there needs to be a definition of what a standard task is. And if there is a definition of what a standard task is, there should be steps of executing those standard tasks. So everything needs to be in a structured manner. So if there is a workflow established, then only we can think of step 2 of process automation. And process automation is very simple, like just in decreasing the human involvement, be it in form of data entry, be it form of data extraction, be it in the form of data summarization, or whatever in form of. It's just about limiting the human involvement so that obviously the risks of chances of errors are come, the time can be limited, and there can be faster process deployments, faster task executions, more clear audit trails, very clear accountabilities, and all those aspects. So this is what process automation is. And when we talk about process automation, you must have already heard of a term like robotic process automation and all those. So process automation can be done using robotics process automation, without using robotics process automation. Also, robotic process automation is a like Excel macro packaged in a very, very nice package, right? So that is what robotic process automation is. So little bit getting into the deeper of it. Nowadays, I think we all know what APIs is and how systems interact with APIs and all those things. So there can be API-based automations also, and there can be UI-based automations also. What I mean by UI-based automation is that the examples of Zapiers and all those that I mentioned, like this can be used to do this workflow, adding the pieces of a puzzle. So that is a UI-based automation, and API-based automation is little more technical that we may not be able to do in the first step. So this is not something that we should target for also. UI-based automations and UI-based execution of a task is what we should target for. If something that cannot be done from a dashboard, that is now not for us. We will take care of that in the future. First, let's master, or not even master, first let's get involved with the dashboard tooling and a dashboard automation or dashboard workflow or whatever we call it, a dashboarding interaction dialogue between us and the system. So let's establish that first. And once we have gotten a decent idea of how dashboard system and we interact, then we go under the hood of the system. So again, one of the best tools that I could refer for in process automation is Zapier. So you can just go try Zapier out. Again, free. It's like I've been using it now, so it's free. I don't have a problem for that. So there are instances, like 1,000 instances per month is free. So initially, if we start, we don't have to pay for it. So this is the best thing. Like we get to experiment live on tools, live environment, everything on our live data on us, and we don't even have to pay anything for that. It's just we need to give our time. Obviously, time is money, but we need to give time for that. So workflow and process automations are somewhat linked to each other. Visualization is something which is not directly linked to workflow and process automation, but yes, it is indirectly linked to process automation and workflow. What I mean by visualization is very simple. Human thinks in, there are studies which clearly says that humans think in pictures, right? We like thinking in pictures, and we retain more of the thoughts that we consume in form of text than in form of pictures. And this is the reason, like short content data consumptions like TikTok and YouTube Shorts, the consumption have gone why so high, because pictures and videos are extremely good form of data consumption for us. Right. So by visualization, I simply mean storytelling and a picturization of the entire stuff. Right. Now it can be of a financial statement. It can be of a sales dump. It can be of a purchase order dump. It can be of anything, like whatever story you want to tell, looking at a particular data set or without even a data set, looking at a process or looking at a business. That is visualization. So there can be extremely critical and extraordinary complicated versions of visualization or metrics that can be used for visualizations. But again, as a start point, let's not get into very complicated metrics and try visualizing those complicated metrics. Like on day zero, I should not get into visualizing the sales and the marketing expense. Let's find out a correlation between sales and the marketing expense in this particular region, and then let's visualize it over a beautiful dashboard. Forget about it. Don't try to do that at day zero. Let's put it very simple. I have a financial statements. I have a profit and loss account. Let's visualize the profit and loss account. आज how can I see sales में से इतना portion ले गया मेरा, employee benefit इतना ले गया मेरा, consumables itna mera, ye expense itna mera, ye expense, the portion that is left, this is my profit. So I can just visualize it in form of a donut and I can take it. This is one form of visualization that is very prevalent and common, right? But maybe there can be other, and maybe you have a different form of storytelling for this. Like you just, if it's a manufacturing company, the visualization can be very simply like there is a whole donut of there's a whole bucket, there's a whole large pit in which all this money is flowing. So there's a large pit which is represented as sales, and in one slide from that pit you have a little bit going to human icons and they taking it. So this is what that employee expense is. There can be some machinery, so this can be some representation of expenses or factory expenses. So using a second step can be using relevant icons in the visualization rather than just simply giving text. Now I'm not sure how many of you would find this statement as relevant कि यार ये तो like मेकअप करने वाली सी बात हो गई कि सुंदर दिखाना है, but it's not only कि सुंदर दिखाना है मेकअप करने वाली बात है कि it's about the amount of data or the amount of information that any human is consuming today is exorbitant, and the fight that we are fighting is to get attention of every other person or the person that we want to talk to or the attention of our stakeholders. So on one side, he is assuming a content beautifully designed, specifically looking into his psychology by marketeers flushing him with ads, YouTube videos, YouTube shorts, all those stuff. And the other side, we dump him with a very dirty data, full clumsy sheet saying about his business. How do you think will he give any interest about those? And slowly and steadily, the human makes a perception कि यार नहीं आ रहा इसके साथ मजा. So this is how it happens. And on the other hand, if our data, our form of communication is extremely in the form of how he likes to consume it, I think that is where we start building a good relation or a above average relation. So whenever there will be a comparison, then obviously I think the one who has better visualized the data and better formed a story of the entire thing that we want to communicate will always have an edge over the other ones. So I always argue with many people, and I'm a firm believer that presentations should not form part of the communications. This is counter-interactive or counterintuitive that I'm still saying this, and I do have a presentation in front of you all. But I still don't believe that presentations are a very good form of communications, and this is the reason I I minimized my presentation. I have not written much text of it, just so that you can have a picture in your mind whenever you again think, even if you think of this 1.5 hour. What was it? So I believe animations are a very good form of business storytelling, right? And which has not yet been leveraged or not yet been exploited in the business. So animations are something which is very good that needs to be done in form of a visualization. So visualization is a endless journey that anyone can ride upon. There are lots of things that we can do in visualization, and some of the again taking by this similar format. If I'm saying this can be done, how this can be done, there are a couple of good tools like Tableau, Power BI, Google Studio. Again, you can use them for free. You can have multiple iterations into them. You can have multiple matrix, multiple things you can do into that. You'll just Google Studio is something which is very nice. It gets integrated with Google Sheets automatically with your account. You can just select a sheet, put whatever you want. A beautiful dashboard is created. So this is something which is from my side in terms of workflow, process automation, and visualization. So these are three things that at least, again, just iterating in terms of the steps that we spoke about. Find at least a couple of good people to talk to, use it for yourself, and then make the community large and form a team. And to start with, these are three things like workflow, process automation, and visualizations. Workflow, we have tools like Kissflow, Airtable, Notion, Process Tree. Process automations API is something which can be banked upon, and visualization with Google Studio, Power BI. Power BI is Microsoft's tool, Tableau is again Salesforce tool, and Google Studio is obviously Google's tool. So this is in terms of very clearly in terms of what next steps can be taken, rather than just talking of certain big things, ki kya ho sakta hai, kya nahi ho sakta hai. I believe these are the steps that we can today start with, and we can start capitalizing on this. When I say capitalizing, the constant question that comes in, will this form part of our new service line, and will this form part of our new revenue stream? Right? Fair enough. I don't know whether it will form immediately as a part of new revenue stream. To be very honest, it won't in at least 6 months or a year, right? Because nothing comes for free. But what will happen is that the communication and the type of relationship that we have with our existing clientele also has a possibility of getting improved, and there is a possibility of vertical expansion and better revenue streams or better service lines into it. So this is how I see this entire journey with, rather than just thinking one day something will happen magical and technology will start helping us in our services. We'll really have to take that charge on ourselves. The intention to put this slide was that this is fine, that this is something which we need to understand the basic steps and what are the basic things which we can start the low-hanging fruits, but this is where the future is. So better we strive or better we start on our journey very fast so that we at least get on to the next steps where the world is really fast moving in terms of this. So at least we need to start our journey very fast so that these are some things which is waiting for us. And artificial intelligence and blockchain, I think these are one of the favorite topics which I can talk as much as I want, but not taking much time. I think we are all aware of how AI has penetrated in our lives, be it Google Maps, be it Google Ads, be it suggestions that we get on YouTube to watch our videos, or suggestions on any kind of our social media platforms. AI is doing its task, and blockchain is something I think crypto is just one thing that we can talk of blockchain. But yes, having said that, tokens are very important part of this entire ecosystem, and without token, this ecosystem, there is a very rare possibility that without tokenization or without tokens, this ecosystem can flourish. So tokens will have to be accepted in times to come, and only then the ecosystem of blockchain can flourish independently. And there are very good cases into it, use cases where AIs and blockchains can be used by finance people, in finance, for finance, right? Will not spend detailed time on this. I think this is what I majorly wanted to communicate, and I think now I'll break for questions and wait for questions, and then we will see if there are anything specific so that we can discuss, and then maybe talk anything else. So Shalini, I think I'll wait for questions. If you have questions coming on through the chat.
Yes, up to now I can see just there is only one question which is relevant. That is to there is some freshers here. He wants to know any specific course or certification for technology related.
Again, certificates and technology. The availability of information is now ubiquitous, considering the time, right? So why do we always run after a certification or a certificate that somebody says that, okay, now this is X person who is capable of doing it? Rather, let's do it and see. If certificate is required in this entire journey, it will happen. But without certificate, there is lots and lots of content that is available, which you can consume and start the journey itself. I think we should not wait for some. If there is a certificate which is readily available in front of your eyes and you think it is good, go get it. That's not the point. But we should not waste our time in finding a certificate. There should be some certificate course which I will do, and then maybe I'll hop on this journey. So that should not be the strategy. I'm hopping on the journey. If I find a certificate, great. If I think, I'll do it. But this should be the strategy, rather than that key. First, let's find a certificate and then I'll hop on a journey. A certificate will never let you hop on the journey. Your obsession will let you hop on the journey.
Correct, sir. Correct. So you have still 20 minutes as there's no question available.
Okay.
So there's one more question. Can you suggest a specific avenue where we can get required key skills in AI ML?
Required key?
Required or specific where we can get required key skills in artificial intelligence.
See, when we say artificial intelligence is really, really big domain. So maybe if you're talking of artificial intelligence, we'll have to understand what exactly do you want as a skill in artificial intelligence. Do you just want to create a data set and train something? Do you want to create your own model? Or do you just want to understand the basics of artificial intelligence? So I'll break it down. If you want to understand the basics of artificial intelligence, there's more than enough content, right? So that is already there. Now, if you want any specific skill for artificial intelligence, say suppose if you are working on a project where you want to analyze a data and train a data set, then maybe you need to look into some specific courses which are there in terms of data ingestion and in terms of data analytics side, which gives you data mining side, which gives you a touch of the artificial intelligence. If you want to work something on a video or on a photo, then there are courses on the computer vision side. So that also falls in artificial intelligence segment. If you're working something on a audio side, that again is a voice intelligence, that again falls in the segment of artificial intelligence. So you'll have to first figure out like what is your need for artificial intelligence. And from a finance perspective, I think fraud analytics is something which is a very good use case for artificial intelligence, and that is done entirely on the basis of huge data sets and huge chunk of data that we can generally collate on types of systems like sheets in Excel. So this is how you get started with your artificial intelligence. I won't be able to suggest any specific. I won't be able to suggest any specific course that will be required for artificial intelligence now. But yes, I'm pretty sure there are 100. I'm not pretty sure, but I'm aware of the fact that there are more than enough content that is lying freely in the ecosystem.
So there is one more question. Why can't DAB create a tool for AI-based audit?
DAB can. So let's put this question in this way: that can there be a AI-based audit possible or feasible? Yes, it is. Yes, it is possible and it is feasible. Now, what is feasible in AI? What is feasible in AI based audit? Right. If you think that the AI will go audit the entire thing, no, this is not. There are components and parts of audit which is feasible in terms of AI-based audit, like the expense testing that we do, that is feasible using. And I won't say very high AI, just simple data analytics tool can help us reduce our efforts. So the journey should always start with very simpler approaches. AI is just an example of like workflow and process automation we spoke about. So abhi we are at a level of workflow. Pehle we need to structure that workflow and then we need to go for process automation. So similarly, first we need to have data, ensuring that there is enough and more data so that AI can function, because AI functions only on the basis of information and data. Without data and AI, without data and information, AI cannot function. So we need to ensure that there is enough structured data. Again, data is also classified into structured and unstructured part. So if it's unstructured data, AI will not be able to make sense out of it because there is no human intelligence still in art. It's still artificial intelligence. It's not human intelligence. Right. So AI will function in a proper manner, in a manner in which it is tuned to function. So unstructuredness cannot be tuned. Structuredness can be tuned. So we need to have first structured data in form of our audit processes. So first of all, our entire audit processes needs to be structured and designed in a workflow manner. And then we can ensure that, yeah, this part is a repetitive part which can be done in a process automation segment. And when we move to the further next step, that now we have enough information and without even involving any human, we can get these certain parts of the audit done using AI. So this is a stepwise approach where something called AI-based audit tool would look like. But still in market, you'll find something which already claims to be AI-based audit tool. MindBridge is an example of, if I'm not wrong, MindBridge is yes example of it. It's a Canada-based company, already valued more than like 100 million. It works towards fraud analytics, identifying risk of material misstatements, identifying account balance, classes of transactions, and disclosures app for these. So this is how it functions, and global firms are even using MindBridge as a service in their audit processes. So yes, so the precise answer is yes, tools can be developed, but on a stepwise basis.
So there is one more question: how Zapier helps a CA?
How Zapier helps a CA? So Zapier has close to 3,000 interactions. So how will Zapier specifically help us? Zapier helps you do regular tasks, right? So example I gave you, Zapier helps you collect text from an email and put it in an Excel sheet. Zapier helps you collate 2 Excel sheets. Whenever informations are filled in, then a third Excel sheet can be prepared. Zapier helps you, your WhatsApp can talk to your email. Zapier helps you, your WhatsApp talk to your Excel sheet or Google Sheet. So these are multiple. Zapier is not domain specific. Zapier is something, there are multiple information tools that we use or multiple tools that we use. Zapier is an integration mechanism. Zapier is an integration tool which helps you talk to multiple tools that you are using in a unified manner. This is what the problem statement Zapier is solving. Right? So it can help anybody in the earth if they use more than one system. Right? If I say I use only one single tool in my entire lifetime, then sorry, Zapier is not for you. But if you use more than one tool in your day-to-day activities, maybe for a business or maybe for non-business, Zapier has something to offer you. Right? You may end up getting a value out of it or may not get a value out of it. But yes, Zapier has something to offer for you. This is how Zapier is.
So one more question. Can you please share thoughts? Should there be constant efforts to... Can you please share thoughts? Should there be constant efforts to upskill on software skills, and if so, which are helpful for data analytics?
See, for data analytics, yeah, obviously there should, I completely agree with this statement that there should be endeavors for upskilling, right? It can be software, it can be anything else, but there should be continuous endeavor for upskilling. Now, for data analytics, what are the tools that you are looking for data analytics, right? To start with, Excel itself is a very good tool for data analytics. Right? Google Sheets itself is a very good tool for data analytics. If we have matured using these tools, then comes Tableau, Power BI. These are data analytics plus data visualization tools. Google Studio is more of only data visualization tool. Data analytics is not there much. It's just more about dashboarding and visualization. But Tableau and Power BI are world's one of the leading data analytics tool, and which is very user friendly and which is very easy to use. And we can even, I think there is a free version for Tableau and Power BI also. I'm not aware about it, but yes, I think there is. So single user free version is there. So these are the data analytics tool that I would at least recommend for a beginner. If I say more advanced data analytics tool, yes, then we can end up using Hadoop. We can start off. There are multiple other tools that can be used. But I think as I go by that principle, that first we should get engaged or a little bit attain mastery on using something which is completely controlled by one single dashboard or one dashboard, right? And we should not start using something which requires your CMD to be kicked in between, right? And you cannot run everything from the dashboard. So if that is not the case, you should, for the time being, as a beginner level, you should avoid that tool and you should only focus on the part that can be operated from dashboard. So for data analytics, Power BI and Tableau is something which is very good for starters.
There is a question, sir, but specific to Caro and tax audit. I think it's not a proper question. Padmanabhan, I didn't get your question. Can you please elaborate it? That's it, sir. There are no more relevant questions.
Okay. Great. Then I think if we have a couple of more minutes, I think we have 5-7 minutes more, right?
Yes, sir. We have 10-12 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes more. Fine. So I'll specifically talk, like if you have 10 minutes more in terms of writing the way, I think I'd like to talk of what just using small tools that can do. I'll talk of some more tools that are there that we should at least start using. Right. One of them being Notion and Airtable. Right. We have always seen spreadsheets in the form of Excel. Right. And Excel is a really, really powerful tool that have changed lives. But there are tools that are now coming up which is far more capable in comparison to Excel. What I mean by capable is that in Excel is a very disintegrated tool. What we can do is that it's just a spreadsheet, rows and columns, and we can do the relevant formulas that are there in the Excel, but it does not have other operating capabilities. Like if I want somebody to extract a particular part of that sheet and go to the email, there is a complicated process of mail merger and all those aspects. It's not very easily doable. But there are multiple new tools that are coming, like you can see spreadsheets.com, you can see sheetsgo.com, you can see coda.io, you can see Airtable, where there are capabilities of Excel being used as a complete software, not just as a data recording or a database tool, but it is available in form of using of like a complete tool. When you, if I talk of spreadsheets.com, if you go to spreadsheets.com, like what will happen is that you are using that spreadsheet, you want some operations, like if this happens, email to them. So that email also happens. That is not possible currently on a very simple user interface of Excel. I'm not saying it's not possible. Through VBA, we can always do that. But again, coming back to my same philosophy that until and unless it's doable by a dashboard, I think it's pretty difficult for us to do, because it's not expected that we go and write a few lines of code in VBA, right? And Excel being one of our most important tools that we interact with daily. And if something that comes into the picture which is more capable than Excel, then I think our efficiencies can improve more. And so this is the reason I'm again referring to some other more tools like Coda, Airtable, and Sheets Go. I think these three are something which you should look into, or anybody should look into and try if we can use it for our benefit, right? Again, apart from this is about Excel, that there is an alternative ecosystem that entirely exists apart from Excel having more capabilities or capacities than Excel. Now coming to the document part, the Word doc. Right. Word doc is again one of the very important documents that we interact with, right? Notion is something which was developed, and just for information, Notion is a $10 billion company. So it's not something which somebody has made it in just passion or some, not wrong word to say passion, not just as an experimental form, but it has grown really big. And every large tech company, I think, uses Notion. Like nobody can even think of a day without Notion now. So Notion is a combination. Notion is not a combination. Notion is a live Word document, right? Where you can structure your information in a very, very defined manner. Visualize a Word document where inside a Word document, you can create another page just by one single button. And in that page, again, you can create bullet points, expandable bullet points, tables, dates, and everything that you can imagine of any other feature. You can put website link, you can put images and everything, all that in one single page, and something happens, and that is over there. So you don't have to go again and again. What will happen in today's ecosystem of the Word is that either you'll have multiple Word files for multiple things, or you'll have one Word file which will run into hundreds of pages. But Notion has the capability that it squeezes that hundreds of pages maybe into one single page where you have an entire view of everything that you want. And when you want to drill down, you can drill down into it. So Notion is a Word document with a drill down feature and some more lots of more additional feature, not some, but lots of more additional feature. So Notion, again, I think we should give it a try. Like the other day, I was sitting with one of my friend who runs a CA firm, not very large, small CA firm. Like he's a staff of 7 to 8 people, 2 partners, right? I never thought in this manner, but interestingly, in the discussions, he said something, and I thought it can be. I just randomly came up with a thought, and what we ended up to was that I automated 5 or 6 of his processes using Notion. Yeah, right? Like who is doing what? He has 7 resources. Nobody is aware. He was not aware. Sabko phone karke bolna padta tha. Ye kar lo, wo kar lo, ye dekh lena. Kabhi he is sitting somewhere, he cannot call somebody, and all those aspects. So we ended up automating the process, automating the firm processes, CA firm processes to some extent, and maybe he's using it for, I think, now quite some time, and the results are, even if not very great, it's better than earlier, right? So these are the possibilities that we always talk of. Open source is something that has come up. Open source is a vast area, or a well where we can just go and dig and find out what we want to do. Everything is available. It's only about like how and what we want in our domain to happen with us. I think this is it. With this, I think I'll end up. I think now we are almost done at the time also. It's no point just expanding more and more, because I wanted to communicate a couple of specific points today in terms of how to start as an initial beginner. And I think this is what all I had written.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing such a valuable knowledge with us. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite CA Nakul Sharaf, Chairman of JNK branch of NIRC of ICI. Please take over to extend formal vote of thanks to solution. CA Nakul Sharaf.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank CA Shailesh Churibalaji for taking up the wonderful session. Sir, you had been very kind and optimistic, and for giving us your valuable time for taking up the session. And we definitely look forward to have many more sessions with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure talking to you all.
Now I would like to introduce and invite to all Mr. Puneet, CA Puneet Grewal, sir, our next learner speaker for today's session on the topic role of technology in forensic investigation. Puneet Grewal, sir, is an associate director in Deloitte Financial Advisory Practice. He has more than 8 years of experience with specific focus on forensic services. He is a member of ICI. He is also a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. He is also a certified forensic examiner. He is also holding various certifications like INDES, FAFD, conducted by ICI. He has a wide experience in forensic advisory practice. So please enrich our knowledge on today's topic, role of technology in forensic. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Let me know if it's visible.
It's visible, sir.
Perfect. How many participants do we have?
So that I have no rights to see.
Okay, that's fine. So can they ask questions in between, or it's one way and they can maybe put through chat?
So I think questions will be taken at the end of the session.
Okay, perfect. Good. So thanks for the introduction, Shalini. So today we're going to look at investigations, methodology, as well as the role of the technology when we talk about investigation. I'm being joined by my colleague, Lokesh Chopra. He's also a chartered accountant. Lokesh, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Lokesh. I'm also associated with Deloitte, and I've been working with Puneet last 3-4 years. And yes, I'll be assisting or taking a few slides in between along with Puneet.
All right. Thank you. Perfect. So let's just start, and I hold up in between. Although there's one way I don't want to really rush through it. We'll kind of take you through the investigation methodology, and like I said, then some of the technological experts, which is computer forensics or cyber or data analytics that we use in our investigations. Please do write your questions so that we can take up at the end, or maybe Shalini, you can speak in between if
yes,
required.
Sir. In between, I'll show.
Sure, perfect. So these are some of the agenda items. One is we're going to understand what is forensic audit, what do we mean by investigations, then the methodology, what is role of technology within that, and of course we wrap it up with Q&A. So investigation, it's a fact-finding exercise, right, which is independent and without bias. It's an independent examination of the financial records as well as the electronic records that sits either in a target's computer or server or cloud. So these days, a lot of organizations are on cloud, and the backup of the machines or the email servers keep on are stored on the cloud itself.
So when we talk about investigation, it is not only review of the books and the financial records, it's also review of all the electronic data, which could be in the form of emails, user files, Excel, PDF, or whatever that is gets stored in the machine or on the server. And the important point is all the evidences that we have should be admissible in the court of law. For that to happen, it is very important that the data is gathered forensically. Not only the data which is in document form, but also data which is in electronic form. We maintain a chain of custody. In that chain of custody, we do write what has been obtained from the client, what was the date, who provided it to us, and when we return, we likewise put that through, put the notings in the chain of custody. That is for both digital as well as electronic data. Then once electronic data gets imaged through various tools, that we'll take you through those, the hash value is calculated and a copy is made. The hash value of the copy is then compared with the original data to ensure there is data integrity, there is no change, and the workings are done on the copy of the data. This is to ensure that at the end of the day, whatever that we find in the review gets submitted in the court of law. So all the investigations is done on the presumption that the matter will end up in the court of law, and the matter and the evidence, the evidentiary value will be tested, even though it's the smallest of the matter. So all the precautions are taken at the time of collection of evidence, be it in the digital form, be it in the documentary form. These are some of the cases that we do as part of the forensic investigation. One is asset misappropriation, which is stealing or taking away of company's assets, which could be cash or in kind. A simple example of cash misappropriation is siphoning of funds. For example, a promoter may siphon funds for personal use or divert funds for purposes not originally meant for. The misappropriation of asset, which is non-cash, could be using the company's asset for personal use. Then it's bribery and corruption. As the name suggests, bribery is giving something of value, which may be cash or kind, to a government official with intent to gain advantage out of it. It's very well known and sometimes loosely used. There's a very big difference between bribery and kickbacks. Right? We'll kind of have that discussion some other time. So then it's financial statement frauds, which is concealment of liabilities, overstatement of assets, and the next is diversion of funds and assurance. Diversion of funds, like we said, diverting funds for which were not originally meant for purpose not originally meant for. For example, a loan is taken for a specific purpose, whereas funds have been used for some other purpose. Now, as you would aware, in the CARO report 2022, the auditors would have to report on the end use of funds. As per the guidance note, it includes all the funds received by the company, which all the loans, which includes unsecured loan as well. So it's going to be a new challenge for the auditors from this year. Then, of course, these are some of the service areas, where their NPAs or it has gone into liquidation, restructuring, etc. So when we talk about methodology, so there are four broad elements. One is Initiation and planning, as the name suggests, whenever a client approaches you, there are certain procedures that should be performed, and planning should be done in order to get the information as may be required, or plan the engagement in terms of resources. The next stage is information gathering, which could be documentary, interviews, or electronic evidence. The next is the analysis of the information that has been obtained, and then finally reporting. So let's look at these 4 stages, and let's see the role of technology in each of these stages. So first is when a client approaches you for engagement, you identify the parties involved. So these parties are or includes not just the client entity, but also the opposing parties against whom allegations have been made. A conflict check should be carried out, not just on the client as well as the other parties who are involved in the investigation, so that there is no conflict of interest for the investigator. Because if you start the work without carrying out the conflict procedures, tomorrow you may be held biased that you already had certain interest in this investigation. Next stage is identify the stakeholders. The stakeholders could be not just the CEO, CFO of the client, but also the board. And in some cases, also the regulators or enforcement agencies. You do the scoping, agree on the scope of the engagement, which is very, very much important. And also, as we go along, you would see that at the time of reporting, you have to ensure all the items in the scope were adequately covered. Another reason why scoping is important is because tomorrow, if a regulator calls you, which is very, very much likely considering the environment we are in, he will look at the scope and the engagement letter first and see whether you have performed all the items mentioned in the scope. Then after doing all this, there's a client acceptance procedures, and then finally the engagement letter, which will define the terms of the engagement. Once the initiation is done, simultaneously perform the planning exercise. You obtain understanding of the issues that are involved, identify the team with requisite skill set to work on the engagement. You start framing the hypothesis. And by hypothesis, we mean what could be the potential modus operandi of this fraud or the allegation. Then comes the project management, wherein you will agree with certain these resources that would work on it, the work plan, etc. Resource allocation, then the technology deployment, which would include whether you want to use only data analytics tool or the forensic imaging technologies in the engagement, and then communication with the stakeholders, agreeing on the timelines of periodic updates, etc. Next part is the collection of the data, which is very much critical. Like I said, collection data could be access to the machines or the digital data, and it also could be access to the people. There could be a number of people you want to interview. It could involve obtaining understanding of the processes and the controls within the company. Or there could be a case where you begin the entire engagement first by interviewing various people, right? And within those interviews, you identify additional issues or additional areas, or try to map with the relevant allegation. Once you collect the data, there are data preservation protocols in place. How do you want to ensure that there is no data integrity issue? you always work on the copy of the original data, not on the original data, be it electronic data or the physical data, records and books which could or supporting documents. The next part is the electronic data gathering, which will cover in much more detail. This includes forensic imaging of the laptops, the desktops, mobile devices, servers, etc. We're going to look at it much more detail. Then third-party information which could reside in with the MCA or in the public domain. They are activities that are on-ground activities to gather more information. Then interviews part. One of the key techniques is piece technique. Then you also identify a data analytics tool that you want to deploy in engagement, which could be your SQL or IDEA, some of the Power BI that has come up, the types of data analytics tests that you perform in the entire data. Once you gather data, then it's the analysis part, which could involve another technology element, which is data analytics. You identify the outliners, patterns, trends that are coming out from the queries or from the data analytic tests that have been performed on the data. Then comes the document review part. Document review, everything boils down to the source documents. End of the day, you have to, even if data analytics identify certain transactions basis the outliers, still you have to see the source documents, books and records, to ascertain whether there is any anomaly in the transaction or whether that's a false red flag. Then review of the emails, whatever that has been gathered through electronic data, be it emails, be it user files. So once you perform all these activities, there is triangulation of information. You triangulate information that has been obtained through electronic data, physical data, or market intelligence, desktop searches, and then test the hypothesis. You conduct interviews and weigh the contradictory evidence, whether you need a new hypothesis, whether hypothesis sustain or not, whether we need to go back and make more additional hypothesis and test it again. This is whatever that has come up till now. So this is not a stage-by-stage procedures. These go on simultaneously. It's a live environment. You keep on making hypotheses, keep on testing it, and if a hypothesis is tested, and then that's could be one of the modus operandi of and which may tie back to the allegation as well. The next element is the summary, the reporting part. You prepare a report, agree with the client the format in which report has to be compiled, the distribution list, who all the report has to be distributed to. You also do root cause analysis and remediation for the client depending on the scope. Then comes the regulatory or enforcement request. There could be requests from number of regulators or enforcement agencies regarding the report that you have submitted. Then comes the project closure part, which should not only include the closure of the findings as well as the financial closure. So if you see the entire methodology, there are various buckets where we use technology. One is at the information gathering stage, and then it is also at the stage of analysis. Let's look at the role of the information technology in investigation. Like we said, the most primary important part is the forensic data analytics. How does data analytics help us? See, for example, there's a large company whom you are conducting investigation on. The turnover company is more than 10,000 crore, and you start performing analysis of data. It is humanly impossible to perform the analysis, and it is not possible that Excel with a limited rows can be used in such a scenario. Therefore, the only option is data analytics. It will allow you 100% coverage of your data. You can review all the line items by performing queries on those on the data. It will give you real-time insights. It is less time consuming, very, it's a time efficient exercise, whereas a non-data analytic approach, it consumes a lot of time. And considering the vast data that we have in the today's scenario, when we say data is the new oil, there's large chunks of data an organization generates. So it's humanly impossible to work on the entire data without using data analytics. Some of the tools are also very helpful in visual insights. For example, Power BI is one of such tools. We use this tool with the investigation agency, and considering that it was 7-8 years of data and such a large company, we could easily manipulate the data, play around with the data using Power BI. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult, because considering the time that we have or the expectation of the client in order to quickly turn it around, it is very, very difficult to do it manually. So that's where data analysis comes into picture. Even if you see some of our startups that are there, for example, Swiggy and the likes, they generate orders to the tune of 5 crore or more per month. Right? Imagine the data that they would have in their systems if you want to penetrate the data. Data analytics can also be used proactively by companies. They can be part of the transaction, part of the FRM or the fraud risk management itself, right? Where it can be used as a stack within the transaction environment, and which can help them, identify transactions which do not meet certain criteria in real time. Some of the tools, like I said, are ACL, IDEA, SQL. All of these are query-based tools, although they come up with certain predefined queries, but it's very, very important that there's a proper training that is required for all the three types of kinds of tools. ACL is widely used across audit fraternity, and IDEA likewise, used by a lot of investigators. The one that really stands out is SQL, because it's very easy to learn and also allows you to quickly penetrate the data, right? So and you can use SQL with some of the visualization tools, and it beautifully sits out in the form where you can manipulate the data very easily. So do read about these tools. These are quite well known though, but very little used in the audit fraternity. ACL, for what I know, although these tools are expensive, but if you can use, for example, ACL gives a license for about, what I understand, a couple of years back, it was used to give for 2 lakhs per license. So these are expensive, but it's a good investment. The least costly is SQL. There are a lot of companies that provide SQL database free of cost. Of course, they have charges once the data size increases, but still, it is very, very easy to understand and use. Although ACL and IDEA will give you a predefined analytics framework. These are some of the illustrations, for example, that can come up through visualization tools. There are altered payment duplicates. You can identify whether there were duplicate invoices, whether there were certain invoices that conform to keywords, round dollar value, round dollar rupees. There's an invoice spike above certain threshold. There is, material price variation. So all of these can be inbuilt within the analytic tool. And, you can just by clicking in some of these, for example, you're going to click at a particular transaction, it will open particular, in this case, that's why you want to click this area under invoice keywords. You click one cell and it will open up the entire transaction or the entire account. So you can play with the data. And once you start using it, you will start enjoying playing around with the data. Then we do also vendor risk classification. So you can kind of classify the vendor into low risk, high risk, medium risk, basing transaction count. It can be categorized into higher risk and likewise low risk and medium risk. So it is a very beautiful tool. You can, way to actually, play with the data. These are additional things. For example, you can find, we have highlighted that there's a duplicate PAN. Although Excel will do it also, for if there's limited data, but it's a large chunk of data. It can be done through some of the data analytics tool, and it also helps you to use multiple fields. For example, while running the query, you can use vendor ID, account number, PAN number, or combination of number of items within the data. So I think next part is the data forensic part. Lokesh, you want to take that up? Sure. Shalini, any questions till now?
Sir, not yet. Maybe participants used to ask question at the end of the session or in last half an hour.
Okay. Sorry?
So I was just saying, participant used to ask question at the end of the session or last half an hour. Hello? Sir, you are not audible.
Sorry, I think I got disconnected. Some network issues at my end.
It's okay, now it's audible, sir.
Okay, so Lokesh will take up the detail forensic part.
Yeah, hi everyone, good evening. Thanks Puneet for the insights on data analytics and the overall investigation methodology of how it is carried out. Shalini, you are able to hear me, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So digital forensics basically it's a very key step in any.
Lokesh, you are not audible. There must be some network issue at your end.
Yes. Let me figure out. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Let me figure out. Shalini, is it any better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. So digital forensics is basically key in any investigation or in the forensic assignments because the documentation and other stuff you can get it from client in the hard copies or through other sources. But recovering the digital data is far more important because there might be evidences which are lying in the hard disk, laptops, or the mobile devices of the individuals or the targets who are under your purview in the investigation. Now, how the digital forensics proceed and why it is important. The another part is if you don't use these tools or technologies available, then if the case goes for basically if case goes in the court, then your evidences or whatever exercises you have performed might not be legally permissible or legally admissible. Why? Because data might have been altered. If it's like the proper chain of custody, all those steps which are mentioned over here in the collection and preservation exercise, those steps are not carried out properly, then your evidences, there are high chances that your evidences are not legally admissible. Now, how the digital forensic happen? The steps are first to identify what are the devices which you want to cover. These obviously you need to discuss it with your client because the client IT team will help you a lot in identifying what are the data sources which could be available for identifying what all evidences could be there. Like there might be collaboration platform. When I say collaboration platforms, it might be OneDrive. Client might be using Google Drive, OneDrive, or the other collaboration platform because it's a digital world we are living in. Then the security infra is basically, so if it's an assignment of a data leakage, then obviously you need to analyze what does the log suggest. Does the logs indicate that, okay, any external hard disk was connected or any external drive was connected in the system or not? So those security logs are important from that perspective. Another is employee assets. What kind of assets was he using? Was he using hard disk? Was he using laptop? Was he using any mobile phone? So those assets you need to identify. Then the UCB flash drives and the file or server data. Server data as of today, Outlook is the very generalized tool which everyone uses for the exchange of emails. So for Outlook, the data set is available on Microsoft Exchange, then the cloud data, mail server data, and the backup tapes. Once you identify all these data sources, then the first thing which you need to do is document your chain of custody. That, okay, I have collected these devices on this date and from this particular individual, so that if any tampering has happened before that, so at least you are not accountable for that. Because see, you are accountable from the moment you have collected the data sources. You are only accountable after that. If after that, let's say a tampering happens, then you are questionable in the court of law. So chain of custody is a very important document. So chain of custody comprises of all my asset details. What's the asset? What's the configuration of the asset? Who was the owner of the asset? Who was the one who handed over you the asset? What was the time of taking over? What was the date of taking over? And it has to be acknowledged by the person who gave you that asset. So those are the critical information which are generally filled in the chain of custody forms. And once the chain of custody is done, then you go for a hashing. So whatever data you have acquired, you calculate a MD5 value, which Puneet also mentioned that, okay, once the data is acquired, then the hashing is performed. So hashing, why it is important? Because let's say after 5 months, you go in the court of law and you say the hashing or MD5 value is the first thing which is compared that, okay, is the data integrity maintained or not? If the hash value matches, then only your evidences are legally admissible. Otherwise, they won't be. Even if it's a small difference in the hash value, your evidences might not be admissible in the court of law. So hash value, calculation of the hash value of the original data is very important. Once you calculate the hash value of original data, then you start with the backup creation, which is an image of that. You process it in your technological tools, which is largely the tools used are NCase, FTK, and the Intella. These are the softwares which are used to process these data sets. Because you are not aware of, when you do imaging, you are not aware of what is the data size of that laptop. It's a 50 GB, 100 GB, whatever the data size is, that is processed through these technological tools which are available in the market. Once the data is processed or an image is created, then the hash value is again compared with the original data. So if there is a difference in the hash value, then I should not proceed further. Only if my hash value matches, that means, okay, the entire image has been created or the copy has been created on which my team can work on, or the forensic accountant or the investigator can work on for the further analysis. So that's why the backup creation is important. And when the backup is created, you need to
like track or label your evidences that, okay, this was my original copy, this is an imaged copy, and this is my working copy. So unless those are properly labeled, you don't know when that case might go in court. It might be after 5 months, it might be after 5 years. So labeling is far more important. Then the next part is processing. So asset verification. You see that, okay, was the laptop formatted? Whose profile is present in the laptop which you have acquired? Or basically these all steps, the processing steps are, everything is done on the image backup copy, which is your working copy. You see that, okay, which was the operating system which was in use? What's the laptop format date? What's the basically what are the other logs which are there in the system? Then you go for the second stage is non-deleted data. Whatever data is right now available in the system. It might be emails, it might be user files, it might be images, it might be any video files. Everything, the backup is basically all the data sets are processed. Firstly, you process non-deleted data sets, then you go for a deleted data set. Deleted. So if you see stage 3 and stage 4, there is a minute difference between stage 3. Both are about the deleted data sets. But stage 3 is deleted data set which might be lying in your recycle bin. If you use Outlook, then it might be lying in your deleted items. So those items are recovered in the stage 3. Stage 4 is carved data. Any hard disk, if you see every hard disk comprises of various blocks. So even if you delete something from the hard disk, it remains for some time on the blocks until and unless that particular block is replaced by another data set. So till the time it is not replaced, that data lies. And that particular activity is called carving. And all these activities which I'm talking about here, these are not possible humanly. Unless you have technological tools in place, unless you use the technology, these are going to be literally impossible. And once you recover, so you have recovered the non-deleted data, you have recovered the deleted data, you have recovered the carved data. After recovering, then you index the data. So what is indexing? If you have ever used Outlook, and if you try to copy a new PST, like let's say Lokesh left the organization and gave his handover to Puneet. And if Puneet is trying to access Lokesh's data, first the data has to be indexed so that in that data set, I can search for something. Let's say in that data set, I want to search that, okay, which are the emails which the Lokesh has sent to Puneet in last 1 year. For that, indexing is very much important. Without indexing the data, you won't be able to search anything on the data sets. Once the data is indexed, then you perform on the Then you basically search for the keywords. Now, why are the keywords important? So your case might be of a procurement fraud, and the user, let's say you have an allegation that, okay, the person has received some kickbacks over last 4 or 5 years from a particular vendor. So, and that person might be existing in the system from last, let's say 10 years. You would definitely not want to review all the complete 10-year data. So what you need to do is you need to design your keywords. The entire data size might be 10 lakh line items. So if you design your keywords and you optimize your review or you improve the efficiency. So my keywords would be that particular vendor name or the particular bank account number or the proprietor or the partner of that vendor. So you need to have those keywords in place. Once you run those keywords, then you export your data sets and upload on if you are reviewing those emails on an Outlook, you might review on Outlook. There are various other tools and technologies also available. So there's a difference. One is the tools which are available for processing the data sets. Then there are tools available for reviewing those data sets. So why for reviewing the data sets also? Because those helps you maintain the integrity, those helps you maintain the workflow. Let's say I want to give access someday to a law firm or to some external party. That what was the data set which I reviewed? If I have it in Outlook, I won't be able to give the access. So if that data set is available on these shareable platforms, which are like Relativity, Nuix, Brainspace, these are the tools which are largely used as of now in the forensic domain. Forensic domain as of now. So once that data, when you search for the keywords and you export the data sets, once the data set is exported, then you load it on the platforms or you extract the data in the Outlook mode for the review. Now, when you start reviewing the data sets, so if you are using a digital platform, then first is you need to create a workspace over there. After the workspace, you need to upload all the data over there. After uploading, you might have 10 reviewers or you might have 5 reviewers. So you need to create batches for everyone. That okay, this person is going to review this much, this person is going to review this much, this person is going to review this much. And there's one more benefit of using these tools. What is the benefit? That let's say you have a scanned PDF file, and it's lying in the data set of your 10 lakh items. And let's say there's a reference of that particular vendor in the scanned PDF file. If you do it on a normal Outlook, you won't be able to find that PDF even in your, you do as much exercise you can, but you won't be able to find. It is only possible if you do the OCR. So OCR is basically optical character recognition. When you process these files through these tools and technologies that are available, then they help you search those keywords on the scanned PDF files as well. So that it's always easy to refer to that particular scanned PDF file and review those. So this is largely in terms of digital forensics. Then moving on, what are the tools available? One second. So these are the tools which are largely available in the market. One is forensic imaging tools. So imaging is the first exercise which we talked about. Unless you image the data, you won't be able to review or perform any further steps. So for imaging, you have NKS, FTK. These are the largely two softwares which anyone in the forensic field would be definitely aware of, because these are the most common tools which are used in the market. Then obviously you have Tableau, you have Celebrate, and there are some open source boot disk as well. Then the second step is remote forensic collection. Now let's understand what is remote forensic collection, analysis and monitoring. One is that you get a live access of the laptop and then you image the data. One is, let's say a user is right now using the system, but still I want to get his data copied or data imaged onto something. That is what is called the remote forensic collection. So I deploy a particular software on the machine of my target through the network or through the server. That software is deployed, and through that software, the image is collected from the system. Whatever data is lying in the system, that is collected. So for those, we have Digital Forensic Insider Threat, that is one of the softwares. Then we have Magnet Axiom. Then we have Nuix ECC. Then what is forensic analysis tool? So once the imaging is created or once you have collected the data, how do you analyze that data? So when I say analysis, the thing which we talked about in the previous slide, that how many, which are the keywords you want to run? Or let's say, I want to view that, okay, in this particular data set, how many Outlook files are there? How many images are there? How many PDFs are there? How many Word files are there? Those will help you give an overview, overarching view that, okay, this is the total head count or the total count which is available in the system. Out of this count, these are the system files, these are the Excel files, these are the Word files, these are the images. So if you want to, so these help if you want to focus on a particular set of files. You can easily go directly to the images that, okay, these are the PNG specific files. I go and review those PNG specific files. Or let's say you already know that, okay, this data set might be lying in the Excels. You directly go into the Excels and review those things. And on these analysis tools, you can run the keywords. Like we talked about a particular case wherein there was a vendor kickback. I can directly run the vendor name. And through running that vendor name, it will only give me that set which has those the reference of that vendor in the particular data set anywhere. Let's say out of 10 lakhs, when I run a vendor name XYZ, it might only give me 500 line item. So I know that, okay, I have reduced I have crunched my data from 10 lakh to 500. Now I only need to review these 500 documents. Then we have mobile forensic. Like there are some companies which gives the mobile to their employees. And if it's a property of a company, then companies any day, the company has the authority to get that mobile and get it imaged and review whatever is lying on that mobile set, on the mobile device. So for mobile forensic, the largely Oxygen Forensic is the tool which is largely used. Another is obviously Celebrate, but Oxygen is the tool which is largely used in the market. Then is data decryption and password recovery. Now let's understand first what is decryption and what is recovery. So many of these companies nowadays use the encryption technology. Why encryption technology? Because they want to secure their data. So encryption is basically if I, for decrypting that particular data set, I need to have the password which that particular organization might have said. If I don't have that password, I won't be able to decrypt the data. But so in general sense, you won't be able, but if you have these softwares, then obviously you'll be able to decrypt the data, or let's say there is a password protected file. In our environment, like the thing which we can easily relate to is the bank statements. Every bank statement which is received on the email is password protected. And if you want to crack it, then these are the softwares like PasswordKit Forensic or the Access Data, Elcom Soft. These are the tools which are which will help you break those passwords without you having access to those passwords. Then is the incident response and log analysis. Log analysis is largely important when you are doing a IP infringement cases or the data leakage cases, wherein you have an allegation that this person left the organization and he might have taken some confidential data and gave it to the competitor later. So these log analysis and the incident response are largely relevant in those cases. FTK case helps you very much in those log analysis and the incident response. Apart from FTK case, you have Kaku Sandbox, you have Sawmill. These are another set of softwares. Then we have concept clustering tools. So let's understand what these concept clustering tools are. Concept clustering tools, basically, if you upload a particular set of data into these tools, these will automatically basis the parameters I feed in the system. Let's say I say that, I want my data set with some bribery or corruption specific keywords, or which are the largely appearing keywords in a particular data set. So like BrainSpace will give you a visual interpretation that, in the emails of Lokesh, this is the keyword or this is a word which is largely being used. It will give you a very visual representation and very word specific. So through that visual representation, you'll be able to analyze that, let's say in Lokesh's data, fraud or corruption or manipulation is the word which is appearing for, let's say, 100 times. I can directly click on that manipulation word and I can directly review that, which are the cases where Lokesh has used that particular word. So I don't have to review the entire set of 10 lakhs. I already know that, this is the target set where I need to look into. Then these are the hosting and e-discovery review platform, which are Relativity 1 and the Rel 1. So Relativity is a platform which is largely used when you want to share the data, you want to maintain a complete trail of the data, and you want to you have a big team reviewing it so that everyone knows that, these are the data sets which I have to review, these are the sets which I have to review. So Rel 1 and the Relativity are the key software which enables you with those e-discovery reviews. Then so whatever we have seen till now is largely that once you step into the investigation mode, then what is the use of technology? But technology can not only be used after an incident has occurred, it can also be used proactively. Why proactively? Because see, in the recent survey which came out of ACF, organizations have been losing 5% of their revenue to the fraud. 5% is a very big amount because let's say organization is 10% profitable. Out of that 5% is already gone. Or if that 5% revenue leakage would not have happened, then the profits would have been 15%, which is 50% higher than my reported profits. So fraud monitoring basically now in today's environment on how the technology can be used to detect or to detect the frauds at an earlier stage. How can I save the cost? Let's say fraud is going on for 10 years, but is there a technology available through which I could have detected that fraud in 5th year? Again, Shalini, am I audible?
Yeah, now it's audible.
Hello.
Yeah, now.
Okay. So, do we have those technologies in place through which fraud could have been detected much earlier? If it is detected earlier, then obviously I go on for saving that much amount of revenue or that much amount of loss to the organization. So, artificial intelligence is another thing which can be largely used. So, in nowadays, you can get a lot of text data or the lot of data sets from your own servers or from your public platforms and what is happening for the organization, against the organization, or within the organization. Once you have those data sets, then you need to operationalize or basically build up certain. But what are the
Lokesh, I think you are not properly audible. Your voice is emitted.
1 second. Is it any better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. So once you have those data sets in place, then what you need to do is that, okay, what are the types of analysis or what is you need to lay out in your mind that, okay, this is the
Lokesh, it's not properly audible again. Sorry.
Outcome want from the data.
I think there must be some network issue.
Moment, Shalini, I'll join from my mobile. Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
Shalini, is it any better after switching off the video?
Okay, yeah, it's better. I think you can switch off.
Okay. You can see my screen?
No, I can't see your PPT.
1 second, let me share again.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So once I have those data sets in place, I am not sure till what thing I was audible, but as of now, a lot of data sets are available for like within the ecosystem as well as outside the ecosystem. So if I have those data sets in place, then I need to devise or I need to think of what kind of outcome I want from the data. Depending on those outcomes I want, I need to prepare some kind of analytics or some kind of queries that, okay, these queries need to be run on these data sets so that it gives me specific results. Like, let's say I'm looking at a vendor master or an employee master. If I have vendor master and employee master in place, now what do I want from that? Is there any bank account number which is appearing both in the vendor master as well as the employee master? Or is there any phone number which is common in both the data sets? Because if these details are common, then it gives you a clear red flag over there. So you might be able to detect the fraud earlier. Then basically these AI tools can be developed in a manner that, okay, going forward, they learn on their own. So data is fed into those softwares and then basis those queries which have been built till now. Because artificial intelligence is what? It automatically learns basis whatever analysis has been performing till now. Learning on the basis of how the data is getting changed or how the data is changing. And these obviously help you in, one is the consistent methodology, so that there is no human biases when you analyze something. Because if you do it on Excel, then you might skip something. But if you have fed it in a particular system, so every time some data is fed or every quarter or half year a data is fed, it will automatically perform the same analytics and give you the exceptions. Then through these tools, you can obviously, if you are doing it manually, you might be able to do for a 2 month or 3 month or a 4 month time period. But through these tools which are available, you will be able to perform checks on the 100% of data. Then obviously what we talked about, these are kind of proactive detections which are available. And once you have many data sets in place, then and you are like reducing the human effort into that, then ultimately it acts as a cost saver for you. Okay. So that's it. Shalini, if we have any questions on the previous slides which Puneet took up, or in these slides which are into digital forensics and the data analytics,
yeah,
then
we
happy
have
to take
few
up those
questions. Yeah, we have few questions. Okay, I just read the question. What about, no, this is not relevant. Can you suggest few data analytical tools to prepare such report other than MS Excel?
So ACL, IDEA already, so IDEA is a tool which is widely used, and even ICI also has some packages available wherein you'll be able to procure that tool at a lower cost. And IDEA already has some these forensic analysis available, like already inbuilt into their software, like the Benford analysis or the RSF factor. These are few of the analysis which are already inbuilt into these tools.
And also, one is the analytics part. Second is data visualization. I think those two are two separate tools when we talk about. And for data visualization, Tableau and Power BI are some of the good tools that are available. They are also available for education purposes. Try to get hands-on with these tools, free of cost. And if you think that they make a difference, then of course there are paid versions that are available.
Okay, so my next question: are all forensic tools enforceable before courts?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, are all forensic tools enforceable before courts?
See, if tools are not enforceable, these tools are tested, time tested. So they have withstood the surveillance, or what do you say, the hardship of the court evidence, right? So court generally accepts the data that comes through these tools. That's how they have become forensic tools. They first stand the test of the courts, then these becomes the forensic tools eventually.
Also, what is important is the hash value of the data set, because if the data integrity has been lost while you have been carrying out analysis or when you collected the data set, then obviously it might not be permissible. But if the data integrity has been maintained, so if the data which I collected has a particular hash value and the data which I have worked on has the same hash value, then obviously it is going to be legally admissible.
Okay. So there is one question: AI ML bots is going to change the way traditional bookkeeping, taxation, MIS, and other expert area of CA are concerned. What do we mean when we say getting ourselves updated in these emerging tech is concerned? Is it only from practicing CA perspective, since it is for sure that these tech will greatly impact employment opportunities?
See, there are different kinds of people with different skill sets. When we talk about chartered accountants who are good with technology, they have a differentiator because they are hands-on with the latest technologies. Apart from AI, AI and ML are the buzzwords of today, right? There's RPA, robotic process automation. That is the first step where CS get into, right? Process automations, and they can very well do it for their clients as well, right? AI is developing as we progress. It's still in the nascent stage, but it will become really big as we progress. You will see a lot of AI being used in the industries. Already a lot of large companies are using AI, and we are also using in the text analysis or some of the tools that we have. We extensively use AI and machine learning. So if you're hands-on with these tools, it's definitely beneficial from the perspective. I'm not sure how much of it can be used in a normal practice scenario, because cost effectiveness is also a question. Some of these technologies are very expensive, and from both the clients that you're targeting as well as getting hands-on experience, because you will end up doing courses for various institutes, but unless and until you practically use it, you will not get hands-on with these technologies. So that's very important.
Does Linux help in this digital forensic, or how can we enhance the skills thereof for beginners?
See, I assume most of us are chartered accountants here, right? So how do we do it in some of our firms? I'll give you an example. So these guys who do digital forensics are technology guys who have done BTech and elite courses. They have then taken up programs to do this kind of activity on the ground. There's various courses that are available. There's no stopping for a CA to become a digital forensic expert, but largely everybody has a different skill set. What's more important is to know about these technologies so that you can suggest to your clients that this is something you want to use for investigation or otherwise for data recovery, etc. But being a child accountant, I think the importance is to be aware of these technologies so that you can be a better consultant for your clients.
There is one question: how much non-finance knowledge important to identify the frauds in any industry? Example, manufacturing industry or banking industry.
See, it's very important that we have industry-specific knowledge as we progress. You would appreciate that each industry is very different. For example, auto is very different from fintech, right? So they will have different fraud scenarios, whereas fintech will be more technology based. In auto, there could be more issues with the procurement, right? So it's very important that we understand the risks that industry faces, and those risks can only be identified once we learn more about the specific industry. So within manufacturing, there are a lot many industry sectors. Then it comes like life science. There's a different sector altogether. So non-finance background, we have a lot of people who are from non-finance background, and they do bring their own expertise while we do some of these projects. For example, if we have people from IIT as well who have worked on the construction side and the likewise quantification and everything. So those are domain experts, as we call them. So those developed as we understand the industries more while working in them.
Any reference material you recommend to keep updated with latest in forensic audits?
See, ACFE comes out with regular material, which is Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. They come out with regular trainings as well as materials. Then there's forensic course by our institute as well, FAFD. There are a lot of seminars that keep on happening on this topic because it's a hot topic, and it's been taken by many branches. Now with digitization, you can attend any seminar virtually. So I think just keep a tab on the respective branches and see if the seminar that has been organized lately, and also see a lot of information is there in public domain. Some of the cases that are there in public domain, you can always go back and research more about those cases. What has happened in them, who did it, what was the time period, who all were involved, what was the quantum of fraud. So all this is largely available in public domain for large cases, public cases. So a lot of information is already there, and you just need to kind of reach out.
So I think question answers ends here. I can't see any more relevant questions.
Perfect. So I know it's a Friday evening. It's good that we wrapped up early. It's kind of I would say heavy topic for a Friday evening though. But I thank you everyone who was there attending it, as well as Shani, you kept patience while there were IT issues that we faced. But thank you so much.
It was very nice. Attendees are saying it's a very knowledgeable session, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would like to express our sincere thanks. Yeah, I would like to express our sincere thanks to CA Puneet Deval sir and CA Lokesh Chopra for giving an excellent coverage of this topic. It was a great learning session, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Bye.
Good evening, sir.